Okay, so test number 6, I believe it is, the arch, a test of flexibility. I mentioned it in the balance test. Flexibility is one of those things, it's challenging to quantify inside the context of a competition, but I think this test does a pretty decent job. When we're talking about flexibility, usually we're talking about like a range of motion around a specific joint, and there's no better place in the body than the spine to kind of look for the potential or the lack of some available flexibility or mobility. You know, the spine has 24 vertebrae. I think it has, you know, north of 300 joints both within the spine itself and connecting to structures throughout your torso and around your torso. And it's one of those areas where a little bit of focus goes a long way to start to make some improvements in your ability there, and an improvement in spinal mobility and function or torso kind of awareness, I think leads to a ton of improvement in quality of life and maybe even athleticism. It's not something that I came up with, but I've definitely heard it many times, especially from one of my teachers. If you have a stiff or a weak spine, you basically have an old body, and if you have a young and a supple spine, you have a young body. And it's one of those things, if you give your spine some love, a lot of things become available. So in our classes, you've seen us doing things like the arching and the twisting and the rounding and the bridge rotations. All of these are aimed at just getting us some familiarity with what the spine has the ability to do, or at the very least, just make us aware of maybe where some lack of capacity lies, so that you can point yourself in a direction on areas where you can make improvement. So, long story short, the arch. What's the test? All we're doing is we're going to start standing flat-footed. You are going to arch back towards some sort of target. You're going to lightly make contact under control with your head, and then come back to standing. Simple as that. We're going to have this with a partner, both to be able to record the place that you make contact and to give you a spot, just so we're not falling over ourselves and injuring at all. But the score is just whatever distance you're able to get, either on the wall or a box or whatever object you're using to measure it. Take that in inches and divide it by your height in inches, and we're going to come up with some score. So I'll show you a couple of different options here as far as like being able to look for a target, and then hopefully you guys will give it a shot. And again, just like with the balance, a little bit of practice, compared to where you are today, a week from now, you'd be surprised just on where you can get. And I hope it kind of ignites just like an interest in all the potential that the spine offers for making just subtle improvements overall. So check it out. The first one, maybe the most basic, especially if you're newer to this, or if you feel like you're a little bit tight through your torso and the various parts of the body, is you're just going to use a wall. So you'll have a partner behind you, just giving you a little bit of support on your mid to lower back as you arch back, and all we're looking to do is make contact lightly against the wall, the lowest that you can, under control with your head. You'll probably at least want to try this a few times to make sure you get it down, but you're going to start closer to the wall than you think you need to, because you're going to send a fair amount of your body away from it as you go. But like I said, get yourself set. You're going to arch back, make contact, and then come right back up. Your partner will record where you made contact, and the rep only counts if you're able to stand back up under control without having to move your feet. So if you're like, maybe that was a little bit easy, you can obviously try this as many times as you want. But do it, or do make sure to practice this with a partner, so that you don't pile drive your forehead or the top of your head into the wall here, and you keep it safe. If you're like, okay, I'm able to get the wall pretty darn low, I want something a little bit lower, more challenging, you would get yourself a box, for which you definitely, if you haven't done this before, make sure you have a partner there available, but the idea is the same. You get yourself set up, you can orient your feet however you want to here. You're going to arch back, make contact, and then come back up. This is one of those things, you can only really be or get to where you are honestly with your spine. Don't push it too far if there's pain, or if you feel uncomfortable, if you're exposing yourself to some weird positions that just don't feel right. It's your body saying, like, hey, let's pull it back, and maybe, like I said, use this as a focus to grow with over time, but don't push it beyond where you are. Just record the numbers, and let's see where the chips lie. Enjoy.